Hello, families at Stone Ridge. I'm Mrs. Holm. I will be your fifth grade students teacher this year. I have a slide deck I'm going to walk you through. I'm sorry we aren't able to do a back to school night in person. We'll make the best of this. And please know that it will be available. The slide deck will be available to you. I'll send it to you in an email shortly, and you'll be able to reference it back. This video recording should last about 20 minutes. So if you need to pause, go grab something to settle in, I'm going to cover a lot of information that really will help your student be successful, and it will help you support your student. So please take that 20 minutes right now and just listen. If there's any questions, please email me. My email is on this slide. It's sholm@rcsdk8.org. Notice my last name doesn't have an E or an S. So if you type S Holmes with an S, it won't come to me. Just sholm@rcsdk8.org. Okay. Just a quick bit about me. I am the mom of three beautiful children. Two of them are grown and married recently, and my youngest is the tallest one in that wedding picture on the right. That is our Annie, and she is finishing school down at Azusa. My husband and I have been married for over 30 years. We've raised our kids here in Rockland, and we love this community. We chose this over 25 years ago, and we love this area. This is about my 14th year of full-time teaching. I started out in kindergarten and first grade, and then I spent the next 10 years in fifth grade, decided on a big move to a different district. And so I started at Stone Ridge last year. I taught second and third combo class. A couple of you are some of my families from that class. So welcome back. I'm so glad to have your older student with me this year. So in summary, this is about my 11th year in fifth grade. Have I ever done virtual learning? Yep, I did a crisis version of it in the spring, but I have not done this just like your student has. But I'm really quite confident that it's going to be okay. It's not going to be what it was, but I feel good about moving forward. I want to teach your kids, and I will make that happen, even if it's virtually. So that's really important to me. You need to know I'm going in, I'm leaning into this fully. This is, I'm not with any resentment or anger. I just want to do what's best for your students. And this is the hand we've been dealt. This is where we're at. So we're just going to lean in. Let's see a little bit more. I love the outdoors. I love reading and traveling and gardening. Any activity outdoors is really my love. So you might see that as a little theme through our year and things that I choose to share. And you probably will meet my dog Jack at one point. My teaching philosophy. It really all comes down to a couple things. There's lots on this slide, as you can see, but the top three are my most important ones. It's really important you know that I believe every child matters. Your student is just as important as all the other 29 students in my classroom. And it's my goal at the end of every day to make sure I've connected with them, that they feel valued, that they feel understood, and they feel a connection. So I will work really hard to make that happen for your student. I also believe in empowering students. I love when I see students rise up in the classroom and even in the virtual classroom and take ownership of their learning and come up with better ways of doing things and offering solutions to problems. I give them a lot of authority in the classroom, and I think they respond really well to that. So you might find your students brainstorming ways to solve something in our Zoom meetings, or you might see them leading us in our morning meetings from home. There'll be lots of opportunities this year for that. I have high expectations, as I know all of us at Stone Ridge do. We want your students to be academically successful this year. I have high expectations regarding their behavior. I'm not going to put up with a lot of things on Zoom. There's going to be time to be silly, and there's going to be time to be focused and mature and engage in a respectful way. So I will be expecting that of your student. I also believe in teaching the whole child, not just academically and mentally, but I feel that their cognitive, their emotional, their social, and their physical being is really important. So you might find times when I say, just go play in the afternoon this first week of school. And that's important because this is an emotional time for students. They're making a big change. And sometimes more is not better. Sometimes doing a little bit less academics as we acclimate to this new environment is going to give us more bang for our buck. And kids need to recharge, they need to refresh, they need to go get their eyes off of a screen. So know that if you see that in our schedule, that is very intentional, because it's really important that we balance with students the amount of time they're on a screen, the amount of they're doing that heavy load of learning academic content, with having time to just let that all sink in and refresh their minds. You'll see me talk about growth mindset. Important for students to know that what they think about their learning is important. And if they have a growth mindset, an ability and a thought process that says, I can do this, I can do it better, I can work harder, and it's not fixed, students are going to learn better. So we'll talk about that. My philosophy also includes engaging learners, having collaborative teaching. I work with my grade level team. We all work together to come up with the best content and delivery and instruction possible. Back to students, I want to catch them being good. So you'll see lots of positive recognitions within our new Otis platform, but you'll also see more traditional ones where I might send them something in the mail to put on their board that says, great job, you're really rising up in this distant learning. There'll be positive rewards, and I already mentioned consequences. The weekly schedule. So every day in Mrs. Holm's class, at least, we will start at 9 o'clock. This doesn't look this way in a few other classes because they're special, like PE, might start before 9. So their day might start earlier and end earlier than ours. But we don't have any specials like PE or music that start before 9. So your student will always log into a Zoom, either with me or with their PE teacher or music, depending on what day it is, at 9 o'clock. So that can help establish some routines, just like it would have been at school, right? We didn't decide when to show up at school. School started at 8:50. Your student was here. So we'll be doing the same system kind of schedule virtually. So you'll notice that in yellow or in little orange, there are some things in yellow, and then there's green. So I'm going to talk about the green first. The English language arts, math, and writing are all our core subjects. So you're going to see the most content and most live lessons for those subjects. In English language arts, which is abbreviated ELA, you'll see that a lot. It's going to be a daily Zoom that's 30 minutes. And then you also will have, your student will be in one ELA small group in the mornings, and then there might be another one in the afternoon. I'll come back and talk about that. For math, it's going to be a daily Zoom, about 30 minutes. They'll start with me. They might actually be watching a lesson that I've taped and then come to the Zoom and work through that skill with me while we do some more mini teaching. But I might actually have them watch me deliver the instruction on the skill for that day. And some students may choose to do that multiple times, watch it a few times, and then we'll have a live session. For writing, you'll see your student joining a live Zoom 3 days a week for 30 minutes. I'll go show you when that shows up. And then they'll do a lot of writing independently. Now back to those goals. Well, every day we're going to have a morning meeting. It's a way for us to connect with each other, to review what happened the day before, talk about any problems, build community, have fun. Those will happen every day. And it'll be first thing in the morning if they don't have PE or music, or it'll follow PE or music if that starts. I think that's all here. Okay. Here is the weekly schedule. Now I know, take a deep breath. This probably looks a little overwhelming, but what I want you to notice is just the colors. I'm going to talk through the colors. So you'll see the pink is morning meeting. So it's the top thing on every day. And sometimes it follows the specials. It's only 15 minutes, but it's a super important 15 minutes. Please do everything you can to help your student be a part of that. We have to work extra hard to build community virtually. And if they miss that morning meeting, that is going to be a huge part of our connection as a class. All of the yellows are ELA. So you'll see the first yellow of every day is a Zoom. You're going to see that Zoom word also be called live instruction. That's exactly the same thing. I'm using the Zoom app or platform to deliver my live instruction. and then on Friday you'll see it. Right after the ELA Zoom, you'll see there'll either be a brain break, a pause, time for them to do some silent reading from what we just went over in our class. You also will see that there is a small group Zoom. So if your student is a part of my small group A or B, they will have a longer ELA block. It'll be over an hour on Monday. If they're not in A or B, it's going to be shorter because they might be my D group, which would meet with me on Wednesday, or they might be my C group down here, or my E group down here. So I'll come back to that small group in just a moment. You'll notice that every day at 10:45 is our math block. I tried to keep that very consistent. So we always start at 9. We're going to do some work, take a break. We'll come back on at 10:45 for our math instruction. And then you'll also see in blue that after every math instruction, there is a small group. These small groups might be different. Your student might be in my ELA small group A because that's where they're at with their reading level, and they're going to be with like readers. They might be in small group B in math because there's a better group that I want to work with them there. So just know that those small groups might be different for ELA and math, but nothing you need to worry about now. We will not be having small groups the entire first week of school, and I'll communicate directly with your students so they're super clear on what small groups they're going to be joining and which ones not. Okay, so back to the schedule. On Monday, you'll see there's a little spot for a culture activity. Here we're going to do some social emotional learning, some second step through our second step program. We'll also be doing some common sense media lessons in there. In purple, you'll see social studies and science. We'll do that once a week. And that will be right now, it's going to be primarily independent learning. I will assign some digital lessons to them, and then we might Zoom talk on those, or it might be all just online where we interact with work that they're sending back to me, or that one we're just kind of, as a grade level, going to figure out as we go. For writing, on Monday and Wednesday, they will have a 30-minute direct instruction writing. And again, that could be taped, and then we talk through and we do some practicing of the writing skill. For example, if I'm teaching transitions, I might do a 3-minute video to introduce that skill. And then we'll come on the Zoom and we'll practice and we'll talk and we'll work through different examples. We'll show some sample work and make sure we have that skill down, and then they'll move on to work on their independent writing piece. The rest of the day is independent work. I will not see your students during this time. This is for them to do any of the work that's been assigned for that day. So just want to clarify that. This is the same schedule, but you'll notice that I took out all of the small groups. Those are all those black boxes. These are all small groups. Your student will only meet with me 3 times. So here's an example. If your student was in group A or B, they might meet with me at 10 o'clock on Monday, 11:15 on Monday, and 1 o'clock on Tuesday. They would not be in these other squares. So when you look at that schedule, I just wanted you to know that there are other groups I'm meeting with, and it's not necessarily your students. So this is really what their schedule might look more like. Again, this schedule is in Otis. It will be on the bookshelf, which is where you'll find any resources that are important. This slide deck will be on the bookshelf, the schedule, the supply list, and the calendar in order to join any Zooms for your students. So I'll walk through that in a minute as well. Okay, supplies. There is a pickup day for supplies. If you ordered supplies through the district, those will be there on Wednesday. And for every student, we're going to need you to pick up their curriculum. The time is to be announced. I don't have an exact time for you, but that will either come from Mrs. Brooks or it'll come from me, but it'll be next Wednesday. We will be sending home with you 3 units in our benchmark curriculum. So that means it's going to be the little packet, the reading packets that come from our curriculum. It's going to be exactly what they used last year in 4th grade. So they'll be very familiar. They'll be the first 3 units of our year. We're going to send home immediately. Please keep those in a safe spot. We do not have extra copies. Your student gets 1 set of curriculum. So take out unit 1. That one's going to be the first one we work with. The other 2 maybe get put on a high shelf where they're not going to get lost or destroyed. The same with math. They'll receive the entire Volume 1 math practice book and student book, or homework book, excuse me. And those they will need literally every day. So those need to be in their learning area wherever they're going to be logging into Zoom. They will need a notebook. So this will not come home to you. If you ordered one through the supply list, that will be in your supply box. Otherwise, you just need to please provide a notebook for your student. Any writing notebook, a spiral bound, can be their total independent choice. They're also going to need some pencils, crayons, colored pencils, and a whiteboard marker. So if you'll make sure they have that. On day one, they're going to do a fun little get to know you name card, and they're going to want to put some color on that. So on Monday, just have something available for them. And I also would like to make sure my students all have a chapter book in their hands. One of the things they'll share with me is what they're reading. And if there's a difficulty in having access to any chapter books, if you need help with that, let me know. I am more than happy to send a book home in that pickup. So if your student does not have a chapter book that they are excited about or reading, let me know. I will find one in my classroom and send it home. But again, that has to happen before Wednesday. Okay, Otis. This morning, on Friday morning, I noticed that about half of you have already gotten into Otis, or your student has. So that's awesome. Otis is our newly adopted district-wide platform for parent, student, teacher communication. Please know this is not a distant learning platform. This is a platform the district is invested in long term. They've been working on this for several years. It is being implemented now. Because now more than ever, it is important that you as a parent have one place to go. So that is the reason why this is coming up so suddenly, and it's a lot of extra work right now, but the goal is to make your lives easier so you can access everything you need for your student. Your student has one place to go that's consistent from teacher to teacher, year to year, day to day. In Otis, you'll find all of our announcements, all of our grade book and assessments. You'll find classroom resources your student needs. Those will be on the bookshelf. And all of our weekly lessons will be posted in Otis. In this orange box below, I have some hyperlinks. So when you get the PDF of this slide deck, these are live links. So if you need quick help just logging into Otis, you can click here. You should have received an email from our district or principal on how to do that, but you can access it here. If you want more details on how to actually navigate through Otis as a parent, click the second click here. And third one is for students. So this is what I'll be working through with them, a similar version on Monday afternoon. So we will be jumping right into that. If your student hasn't gotten in yet, at least get them logged in, but they don't need to do anything more before Monday because I'll walk through that with them. And then the very last one is going to be an important one. You might even want to open it, bookmark it. If you have any issues with your technology, if you have a district provided Chromebook and you have a problem with it, it breaks, it's not working, keyboards got destroyed, you're going to want to submit a ticket to our technology department, and that link is right there. The link also goes directly to the website, the RCSD technology website. So instead of submitting a ticket, you might be able to just watch one of their tutorial videos that's on that page and get your questions answered quicker. But I know the district will work really hard to try to answer all your technology questions. Distant learning expectations. So daily attendance, that's required. It's actually really important for us to have a record of your students' attendance, not only because we want them learning and we want to make sure they're not falling behind, because it's very difficult if a student isn't participating, but it's required by our state. We have to prove that students are engaged in the learning and showing up. So if your student has not participated in live instruction on a given day, or they haven't done Otis lesson activities, I have to record that as an absence, and that'll be done every day by 5. And if your student didn't log in, you'll get a message from the district saying your student was absent today. This is an important note about distant learning. Students, not parents, are expected to complete all work, and grades will be given. I know it may be tempting to want to really help your kid and make sure they have all the answers right, I don't care if your students do work and have answers right. I would much rather see a lot of mistakes, because I can help your student better if I know where their errors are and where the shortcomings are as far as their understanding of content. So please come alongside your student, help them with maybe if they're not understanding directions, or if they need a little bit of support, maybe brainstorming with their writing. But if you do their work, I will not slow down and meet with them, review things, because they're showing me they have it. So that's super important. And it's okay if your students fail on an assignment. It's not going to hurt them. They will learn, and it will actually improve their learning, because I mean, our brains work that way. When we have discrepancies and we wrestle with things and we work through them, our brains are actually developing better, and our learning is becoming more concrete. Um, and it improves their learning. So that's enough of that. Your students will hear all of that as well. We're going to ask your students to follow our class Zoom agreements. Because I'm a student-led classroom, your students will actually come up with those on Monday, first thing. And then we will type them up, we'll post them. One of my leaders in the classroom might even decide to do that for us. We'll see who steps up. Communicate. If your student's struggling in any way, I really, really want to hear from them. Ask them to email me, ask them to post something in Otis, ask them to raise their hand in our live Zooms, send me a private message in our live Zooms. It doesn't have to be public. They can add a comment in the chat feature to everybody, or they can send it just to me, and I'll show them that as well. But I really want to hear from your student. If your student still needs help, they didn't get what they needed, please reach out to me. Then I want to hear from you. We're going to expect all students to do their best. Not perfect, not accurate all the time, but we want them to just working at their potential. Okay. Here are some tips for you, parents. And some of these, I'm sorry, I know you guys are already probably doing this, but I just wanted to just offer any support I can, because your role is so challenging with working and having multiple kids in this environment. So take from this slide what is helpful for you. It's very important that there's a daily routine that is established. It will help you. It will help your student if they have a regular place to do their learning. All their materials are there. They have a routine of how their day is going to look. I would even encourage your students to create their own schedule and post it right in their learning space, whether that's at a table in the kitchen or whether it's in the bedroom or at a desk, wherever that would be, is to have a routine. This is where you go to learn. This is where you put your materials. This is how we're going to take a recess break, all of those things. Be sure that your child can log into Otis and locate their Zoom schedules before leaving them. Some of your students as fifth graders are going to just rock this. They are going to not need a whole lot of support from you at all. And some may start that way, but then they hit a tech glitch and they need some help. There's something that's not working. So if you'll just be sure before you assume your child is in my hands, just make sure that they actually have joined the Zoom for the day, especially just that very first one. And then they're mine, and I'll take care of them. And then you can hopefully focus on other children or focus on your job. Your student should be independent, working with me. All right, the third little tip, review the Zoom expectations. Some of those, unfortunately, will fall on you. One of them that students will come up with is make sure there's no distractions behind you, sound interferences. So that may mean maybe the vacuuming doesn't happen at 9:00 in your house, because that sound is going to be broadcast to all of our students. And we won't hear your student if there's a lot of background noise. So check those out. Those will be posted probably by Tuesday. Have a dedicated work area for your child with these materials. So I'm right here, pencil and paper. Day one, they need that. That's all they need, really, a paper and a pencil. They're going to need their curriculum within reach of wherever they're Zooming. They're going to need a whiteboard, which they will all receive the big math whiteboard. It's kind of a big soft whiteboard. It's not a hard cardboard one or surface, but they will receive that with their curriculum next week. You might also, if you have a small little standard whiteboard, they might prefer that because it's easier to hold it up as we're sharing answers. And I would encourage you to have a visible schedule. So it's really clear, not just on the computer, but maybe right near the computer so they know what happens at 9 o'clock every day, when their small group times are. That will help. Communicate with me if you or your child are struggling or frustrated with DL, that's distant learning, Otis, Zoom, or anything. I also think it could be really helpful for you as a family at the end of every day to just build in a time to recap. Maybe it's 2-minute check-in. How'd your day go? What worked well? What are you struggling with? What made you happy today? Check in with your student. Um, and the last and one of the most important things is to allow time for everyone to adjust to this new mode of schooling. This is a challenge for all of us, and it just will take some time. But I can tell you, it's going to be okay. Students are going to learn, they're going to get acclimated, and it's going to become what it needs to be. All right, student behavior, super fast. They're going to have essential agreements, student created, teacher enforced. We'll have some participation points given in Otis. I'll go over that later. If there's a repeat offender, if I'm seeing the same kind of behaviors, for example, in Zoom, somebody who's doing some inappropriate things, if they haven't made a self-correction after my private comments to them about that behavior, I will email you directly. We might have a little Zoom session to talk through that. I don't anticipate that. I think students are going to really do really well. There'll be some whole class rewards, TBD. I don't know when we're going to do that yet. It's to be determined. And my philosophy is always to focus on the positive. So that's it. So I have a little homework assignment for you all. I would love it if you, in the next week or so, would take a moment to write a letter to me about your child. This is going to be in an email to you. It will look like this. And I just want to know more about your student from your perspective. You have the most important insight about your child because it's your child. So I want to know what do I need to know about that student? What are the hidden fears they might have? What are the things that they're really good at that they might be humble and shy about and not tell me that I would really want to celebrate and ask them about and connect with them on? So check your email for the instruction letters. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be typed up and perfect. I just want to get to know your child. And these are letters for me only. I will not be sharing them with the student, with my class. It's just a Dear Mrs. Holm letter. Anything I would need to know about your child. Oh my goodness, I'm at the end. How about that? So again, there's my email. If you have any questions, I really can't wait to see your students' faces on Zoom on Monday morning. I'm really getting excited about that. And I'm ready for whatever this year brings. So I hope you are too. I hope you are well and that your family is finding a way to make this work. I understand it's hard. So hang in there. We're all doing this together. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. Remember, I will post the PDF, the version of the slide deck that you can just scroll through to see it again. Reach out for any questions. Please, if you can, make sure before Monday to log into Otis. It will be much easier for your student if they've already can get into Otis. I will be walking them through how to navigate through Otis so they don't need to do anything in it before Monday other than be able to get in. And you can reach out to me if you need login information. It should have been sent to you already, but there has been some glitches with the information not going out. In fact, let me clarify real quick. I sent 2 pieces of communication already. One was to you. It was a welcome parents to 5th grade. If you didn't get that, it's okay. It wasn't terribly important, but it was just a first connection. But I did yesterday on Thursday, I sent a video to your students, to their student emails, Gmails through the RCSD. They can access that Gmail through Clever or go directly to Gmail and sign in with their 6-digit student ID at rcsdkids.org. And they should all know how to do that. They did it last year. Most of them probably memorized their student ID number. And though that video is also in Otis on the class board. It's on the class board. Okay, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me. I look forward to working with you and your student this year. Bye.